What if one quiet conversation could change everything ARMY thought they knew? What if the words that had remained unspoken for years finally found their way into the silence? Before you continue, tell us in the comments, if you were standing in Taehyung's shoes, how would you react? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay until the very end, because this is a fictional story filled with emotion, unexpected twists, and unforgettable moments inspired by the bond fans admire. The rain had just begun to fall over Seoul when the lights inside the rehearsal studios slowly faded. Another exhausting day had finally come to an end, yet no one seemed eager to leave. The members had worked for hours preparing for their long-awaited comeback, perfecting every movement and every note until exhaustion became impossible to hide. Jungkook remained seated on the wooden floor long after everyone else had begun packing their bags. His breathing was calm, but his eyes carried a weight that no performance could conceal. Across the room, Taehyung noticed the unusual silence immediately. Jungkook was usually the last person to lose his energy, always joking with the staff or humming unfinished melodies while cleaning up. Tonight was different. Taehyung quietly walked over and sat beside him without saying a word. The two friends had shared countless silent moments throughout the years. Sometimes words were unnecessary. Sometimes understanding arrived before a single sentence was spoken. For several minutes, neither of them moved. Outside, the sound of rain gently echoed against the studio windows. Finally, Jungkook smiled faintly. "I've been thinking about something for a long time." Taehyung turned toward him with quiet curiosity. "What is it?" Jungkook looked down at his hands before taking a slow breath. "I don't think I've ever properly thanked you." Taehyung blinked in surprise. "For what?" "For staying." The room became even quieter. Jungkook continued speaking, his voice steady but softer than usual. "There were moments when everything felt overwhelming. The schedules, the expectations, the pressure to keep smiling even when I was exhausted. Everyone saw the performances. Everyone saw the achievements. But very few people noticed the nights when I questioned myself." He paused. "And somehow, you always noticed." Taehyung listened carefully. "You never asked complicated questions. You never forced me to explain anything. You simply stayed beside me." A warm smile slowly appeared on Taehyung's face. "You would have done exactly the same for me." Jungkook nodded. "I know." Another silence followed, but this time it felt comforting instead of heavy. "I realized something recently," Jungkook admitted. "I've spent so much time trying to become stronger that I forgot strength sometimes means allowing someone else to support you." Taehyung laughed softly. "You finally figured that out?" Jungkook laughed too. "Maybe a little late." The tension that had filled the room slowly disappeared. Outside, the rain continued falling, but inside the studio the atmosphere felt warmer than ever. Taehyung leaned back against the mirror. "You know," he said quietly, "people always talk about success as if it's measured by awards or numbers." Jungkook nodded. "But I think success is also having people who still sit beside you when the cameras stop recording." Jungkook looked around the empty practice room. The mirrors reflected years of memories. The first rehearsals. The mistakes. The victories. The laughter. The tears no audience had ever seen. "I don't say this enough," Jungkook whispered. "But you've helped me become who I am." Taehyung smiled. "You helped me too." For a moment, neither of them spoke. They simply watched the rain together, realizing that some conversations didn't need dramatic endings. Sometimes the most meaningful words were the simplest ones. "Thank you for being my friend." Taehyung extended his fist. "Always." Jungkook bumped it with his own. "Always." Neither of them realized that this quiet conversation would remain one of the memories they would carry with them for years, not because it changed the world, but because it reminded them that even under the brightest spotlight, genuine friendship could still be the strongest source of comfort. And somewhere beyond the studio walls, as another chapter of their journey quietly began, neither of them knew that the greatest challenges and the greatest moments of hope were still waiting just around the corner. The following morning arrived with clear skies after a night of endless rain. Sunlight poured through the windows of the company building, painting long golden streaks across the polished hallway. Staff members hurried from one room to another, carrying schedules, cameras, and stacks of paperwork as preparations for the upcoming project continued at full speed. Jungkook arrived earlier than usual. Instead of heading directly toward the rehearsal room, he stopped in front of one of the large windows overlooking the city. Seoul was already alive below him. Cars filled the streets, people rushed toward offices, and somewhere beyond the skyline millions of fans were beginning another ordinary day without knowing how meaningful the previous evening had been. He smiled quietly to himself. The conversation with Taehyung had not solved every concern weighing on his mind, but it had reminded him of something he had nearly forgotten. He was never carrying those burdens alone. Footsteps echoed behind him. "You're here before everyone else?" Jungkook turned around. Taehyung stood there holding 2 cups of coffee, wearing the same relaxed smile that had made countless difficult days feel lighter. "I figured you might need this." Jungkook accepted the cup with a grateful nod. "You know me too well." Taehyung laughed. "I've known you for years. It's my job." The two stood quietly beside the window, sipping their coffee while watching the city wake up. No cameras. No interviews. No rehearsed conversations. Just 2 longtime friends enjoying a peaceful morning before another demanding day. After several minutes, the rehearsal director entered the room and clapped his hands together. "Everyone, we'll begin in 10 minutes." Within moments, the practice room filled with dancers, producers, choreographers, and staff members discussing final adjustments. Music soon echoed through the speakers. The familiar rhythm instantly transformed the atmosphere. Every movement demanded precision. Every note required concentration. Hours passed as they repeated the choreography again and again. Whenever someone made a mistake, everyone simply laughed before starting over. Despite the exhausting schedule, there was a different energy in the room. Jungkook noticed it immediately. He felt lighter, more relaxed, more present. During a short break, one of the younger staff members approached him nervously. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "How do you stay motivated after doing this for so many years?" Jungkook paused before answering. He looked across the room where Taehyung was helping another member review part of the choreography. Then he smiled. "I remind myself why I started." The staff member tilted their head. "And why was that?" "It wasn't because I wanted everything to be perfect." He glanced around the rehearsal studio. "It was because making music together made me happy." The staff member nodded thoughtfully. "I think people forget that sometimes." "So do I." That simple answer lingered in the room long after the conversation ended. Later that afternoon, filming began for a behind-the-scenes documentary. Cameras followed the members as they rehearsed, joked with one another, and discussed their creative process. Between takes, the director asked everyone a simple question. "What has kept your passion alive all these years?" Each member answered differently. Some spoke about music. Others talked about performing. When it was Jungkook's turn, he thought for a moment before speaking. "I've learned that success isn't something you carry by yourself." The cameras remained completely still. "It's built through trust." He looked around the room. "Every performance you see is possible because of countless people standing behind it." He smiled toward his friends. "I'm grateful for every person who's been part of this journey." The director quietly lowered the camera. No one interrupted. The words felt genuine. When filming wrapped up that evening, the members decided to take a short walk before heading home. Without managers or cameras surrounding them, they wandered through a quiet riverside park where the evening breeze carried the scent of summer. The Han River reflected the orange glow of the setting sun. Families rode bicycles. Children laughed in the distance. Everything felt surprisingly ordinary. Taehyung slowed his pace. It's nice when nobody expects anything from us for a little while. Jungkook nodded. I miss this. They stopped along the railing overlooking the water. For several minutes they simply watched the gentle waves move beneath the bridge. You know, Taehyung finally said, fans always see the biggest moments. The concerts. The awards. The celebrations. Jungkook smiled. But they don't always see the small moments. The conversations. The encouragement. The quiet days. Taehyung nodded. Sometimes those are the moments that matter most. Jungkook looked toward the horizon where the sun was slowly disappearing behind the buildings. I hope people remember that everyone needs someone they can talk to. No matter who they are. A gentle breeze passed between them. Somewhere nearby, a street musician began playing a soft melody on an acoustic guitar. The music drifted across the river, blending with the sounds of the city. Neither of them spoke again for several minutes. There was nothing left to explain. Sometimes friendship was not measured by dramatic speeches or unforgettable headlines. Sometimes it was measured by simple gestures. A quiet walk after a long rehearsal. A conversation that reminded someone they were never truly alone. As the city lights gradually illuminated the river, both of them turned toward the road leading home, unaware that tomorrow would bring another unexpected chapter, one that would test not only their determination as artists, but also the quiet promise they had made to always stand beside one another, no matter how challenging the journey became. Several days passed, and the excitement surrounding the upcoming project continued to grow. Every rehearsal became more demanding than the last, yet the atmosphere inside the practice studio felt noticeably different. There was laughter between difficult choreography, playful teasing during vocal warm-ups, and an unspoken understanding that everyone was giving their very best. Jungkook had not forgotten the conversation with Taehyung. In fact, it stayed with him every single day. Whenever exhaustion crept into his thoughts, he remembered those simple words. You don't have to carry everything alone. It was a reminder that somehow made every challenge feel a little lighter. One afternoon, after nearly 8 hours of non-stop rehearsal, the members finally received a short break. Instead of sitting inside, Jungkook quietly stepped onto the rooftop terrace. The cool breeze welcomed him immediately. Below, Seoul stretched endlessly beneath the evening sky, glowing with thousands of lights as sunsets slowly painted the horizon in shades of orange and purple. He rested his hands against the railing. For the first time in weeks, his mind felt calm. A familiar voice interrupted the silence. I figured I'd find you here. Taehyung walked onto the rooftop carrying 2 bottles of water. Without saying another word, he handed one to Jungkook. Thanks. You looked like you needed a little air. I did. They stood together, watching airplanes disappear into the clouds. Neither seemed in a hurry to speak. Sometimes silence carried its own conversation. After several minutes, Taehyung smiled. Do you remember our trainee days? Jungkook laughed immediately. How could I forget? We used to think debuting would solve every problem. It sounded so simple back then. Practice hard. Debut. Perform. And live happily ever after. Both of them laughed. Reality, however, had been far more complicated. There had been triumphs. There had been disappointments. There had been moments when they questioned themselves. Yet somehow, every difficult chapter had eventually become another memory they could smile about. Taehyung looked toward the city below. If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be? Jungkook thought carefully before answering. I'd tell him not to be afraid of making mistakes. Taehyung nodded. That's a good one. What about you? I tell myself that success isn't about becoming perfect. It's about continuing even when you don't feel perfect. Jungkook smiled. I like that. The rooftop became quiet once again. Far below, traffic flowed through the streets like rivers of light. The city never seemed to stop moving. Neither did their lives. Later that evening, the company organized a small gathering for everyone involved in the project. There was simple food, quiet music, and conversations that had nothing to do with schedules or rehearsals. For a few hours, everyone was simply enjoying each other's company. One of the producers eventually stood up and raised a glass. I want to thank everyone. The audience will only see the final performance, but they'll never fully realize how much heart every person in this room has poured into making it possible. Applause filled the room. Jungkook glanced toward Taehyung.